ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they watch you.
I must hunt for corruption.
Welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am your host, Hawasani Garba. According to a population projection by the United Nations in 2020, 70% of Nigeria's population is under age 30. The youths are strong and resilient and can achieve anything they set their minds to do. This is why, over the years, ICPC have devised different ways to engage them. One of the ways is by setting up anti-corruption vanguards in tertiary institutions with the aim of engaging the students positively, instilling the right values in them and getting their buy-in in the war against corruption. Recently, the Commission held an anti-corruption debate for members of the anti-corruption vanguards from some schools in Abuja, Niger, and Nasarawa states. The schools that participated were Base University, Abuja, Veritas University, Buhari, Abuja, Bingham University, Karo, Nasarawa State, the Federal Polytechnic, Toto, Nasarawa State, and the Federal College of Education, Zuba, Niger State. Today, we bring you details of the debate, but before then, let us join Joy Aja as she brings us anti-corruption stories.
Hello viewers, thank you for staying with us. I am Joy Aja with Anti-Corruption Stories. The Dean of the International Anti-Corruption Academy, IACA, in Vienna, Mr. Thomas Stelzer, has declared that the measuring tool used by Transparency International, TI, in her Corruption Perception Index, CPI, had a lot of gap that needed to be bridged. Mr. Stelzer made the observation when he visited the ICPC headquarters as part of activities of his working visit to Nigeria. Stelzer, who is also IACA's Executive Secretary of Assembly of Parties, said that TICPI puts government in difficult positions because no matter how hard governments of nations work, they are exposed and reduced to the perception of constituents. Speaking on the way out, Stelzer said that IACA was working on measuring corruption as part of its research work by putting together all the expertise, bringing on board everybody who has something to contribute to the project in order to see the right methodology to adopt for better results.
We're running now this global program on measuring corruption. And we have 4 top researchers on board now who run this program. We're in the first phase. You're a statistician there. So we are consulting now everybody who has anything to contribute to this project in the first year, because we need to get all the know-how, all the expertise we're consulting with commissioners, with public institutions, with think tanks, statisticians, with NGOs, with everybody has anything to contribute, to see which elements of the 10 existing methodologies could be taken forward into a future methodology which hopefully might enjoy consensus. That's our goal. So we're totally integrative, we're transparent, we let everybody participate from the beginning. So access to information, access to transparency. So, we want to avoid that at the later stage people will become apprehensive because there's a lack of information. Thus we want to build ownership, shared ownership from the beginning, so that we can hold everybody accountable to implement later what we might agree upon in the process. So this is a very interesting project. Our biggest one, maybe the hottest project right now in the field. And we discussed it yesterday, and invited, of course, also Nigeria, also the Academy to contribute here and to be an active part. So So this was in brief what our academy has been doing. In not only our 80 parties, Nigeria has been one of the founding members. We have been part since 2010, so 12, when we were formally established. Very strong supporter. Nigeria has been the chair of our Assembly of Parties. Through several years, we have also contributed us financially, I have to say. And right now, in Nigeria, the predecessor of President Baraje is the chair of our board of governors. So Nigeria has been playing a very important role.
In his remarks, the ICPC chairman, Professor Bolaji Owasonye SAN, welcomed the Dean to the country and gave a brief background of the commission vis-à-vis her statutory mandate. He said even though ICPC was set up in 2000, a few years before UNCAC, it commendably reflects UNCAC's principles and focus, which can be seen in the Commission's tripartite mandate. He gave a rundown of the three-pronged mandate of enforcement, prevention and enlightenment, while saying that although not easily measurable, ICPC makes a lot of progress under its preventive mandate, which is not measured nor captured by the CPI, even though the efforts contribute massively to the fight against corruption.
The world and the global community about the implementation of anti-corruption measures as agreed to by the international community. The third thing I want to talk about is, of course, the focus on our prevention activities, which is very unique. I said earlier on that this is one of our statutory functions as an institution, and in this regard, is also one of the areas in which we build capacity, the ability to conduct corruption risk assessments, to evaluate the vulnerability of public institutions, and to indicate to them in our findings whether there are accidents waiting to happen or whether they can fulfill their statutory mandate or not.
Other highlights of the Dean's working visit to Nigeria include a courtesy visit to the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, visit to the Chairman of the Board of the Governors of Ayaka and former Chairman of ICPC, Mr. Ekpo Nta, and a tour of the facilities at the Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria, KEFI. In another development, an assistant director in the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Mr. UDL Musa Takat, and an administration officer at the National Space Research and Development Agency, NASDRA, Mr. Nankpat Dupong, have been arraigned by ICPC over allegations of fraud, employment scam, and conspiracy. The duo were brought before Honorable Justice O.A. Musa of the Federal Capital Territory High Court 7, sitting in Jabi, Abuja. In a 6-count charge, ICPC accused the defendants of conspiracy, abuse of office, and defrauding unsuspecting job seekers to the tune of 2,900,000 naira. The commission, led by its counsel, told the court of how the accused persons solicited and collected on separate occasions the sums of 500,000 naira and 2,400,000 naira from victims in the guise of securing employment for them in the Federal Civil Service. While the first defendant, Takat, was charged on counts 1, 2, 4, and 5, the second defendant, Dukbong, was charged on counts 1, 3, 4, and 6, respectively. Their actions are contrary to Sections 26 and punishable under Section 18 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. The accused persons pleaded not guilty to all the charges when they were read to them. The trial judge, after listening to both parties, admitted the first accused person to bail in the sum of 4 million naira and a surety in like sum, who must be a civil servant on grade level 8 and above. The surety was also ordered to surrender his letter of first appointment and his last promotion, as well as identity card. The second accused person was also granted bail in the sum of 2 million naira and a surety in like sum. Justice Musa also ruled that the sureties must show evidence of residency within the FCT with clear address and submit to the court photographs of them in front of their residence. He equally asked them to undertake a bond to compel the defendants to attend their trial, failure of which will not only result to the revocation of the bails, but the prosecution of the sureties. The matter was then adjourned to the 19th of October 2023 for hearing. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Hawa. Please stay with us.
Fellow Nigerians, do you know that constituency projects are actually your projects? Do you know that constituency projects are funded by the federal government? Do you know that you can track release of constituency project funds for projects located in your constituency and follow up to know how they have been executed? Constituency projects happen because government does not want to leave any community out in development efforts. You have a responsibility to know what constituency project has been planned for your community, how much has been allocated for it, and whether value for money has been delivered. Take ownership of constituency projects located in your community. Protect them because they belong to you. Government knows about your needs and is planning for you. Government needs your help to ensure quality delivery. Know that constituency projects are actually your projects. Protect your constituency project. My constituency, my project.
For information on funds allocated to projects in your constituency, call 0800 2255 4272.
This message is from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the National Orientation Agency.
If you are just tuning in, this is Corruption Must Go. In his welcome address, the ICPC chairman, Professor Bolaji Owasawonye, SANOFR, stated that the commission takes the youth very seriously as major stakeholders in ridding Nigeria of corruption. Professor Owasawonye, who spoke through Alhaji Goni Ali Gujban, said it was important that the youths grow up with the right values as they move to live their dreams. He charged them to bear in mind that corruption is a dream killer that should be fought to a standstill.
Today, that you are all here representing your prestigious institutions in a debate of this magnitude is a practical demonstration of your unflinching commitment to the fight against corruption in our beloved country, Nigeria. This inter-school debate is one of the several platforms ICPC created to encourage capacity building, ethical reorientation, behavioral change, positive values, rejuvenation, especially among the youth. As a mark of unwavering commitment to the restoration of Nigeria's time-tested and time-honored values of integrity, honesty, patriotism, and human dignity, we conduct this debate and several other youth-oriented programs among our student members of anti-corruption clubs of secondary schools and banquet in certain institutions annually. It is indeed a fact that no nation can grow and develop faster than the level and the standards of its education. Permit me to observe at this junction that the deficiency of our societies are magnified by the fact that the youth in our educational institutions are starved of the appropriate ethical and cultural values necessary to become model citizens.
In his welcome address, the Director, Public Enlightenment and Education Department, Mr. Muhammad Ashiru Baba, FSI, said the Commission, through its enabling law, set up vanguards in tertiary institutions for moral rejuvenation and attitudinal change by mobilizing students on and against the ills of corruption.
Section 6B to D deal with preventing corruption from happening.
because they say corruption prevention is far better and cheaper than cure. Public enlightenment and education, that is mobilizing the public on and against the use of corruption. And it's under that platform, that mandate, that we form clubs and vanguards, and also NYSC anti-corruption community development service groups across Nigeria. And this project started in the year 2003. As I'm talking to you today, we have more than 2,000 anti-corruption clubs in secondary schools drilled across Nigeria, cutting across both public and private secondary schools, and more than 1,000 vanguards across tertiary institutions, covering the universities, the colleges of education, and the polytechnics. We don't just stop there at forming clubs and vanguards, we also engage clubs and vanguards effectively in the fight against corruption through an exercise such as the one we're going to witness today, that is the debate. We've been organizing essay competitions, some of you must have participated, and even cutted away sumptuous prizes. We've encouraged members of the vanguards to visit secondary schools and give them talk shows, talk to their junior ones in secondary schools. We've also encouraged the core members to engage in community advocacy and also engage in media talks all against corruption. So these are some of the programs that we use to engage with clubs and the vanguards effectively in the fight against corruption.
Also at the event were representatives of the National Commission for Colleges of Education, NCCE, EFCC, and some civil society organizations who gave their goodwill messages. Let us hear them.
The youths are the future of our country, and any opportunity to engage their minds in activities that will be beneficial to nation building is a welcome one. The debate, which is on measures that will contribute to reducing corruption in institutions of higher learning in Nigeria, is apt, as the students can relate and prefer workable suggestions. And we all know that there is a prevalence of cybercrime among students of tertiary institutions, and this is a constant source of worry for the nation because it's an illegal activity and it's not a good narrative as it affects the image of our country. But I believe that students of the anti-corruption vanguard, the club members, are definitely not going to engage in internet cyber crimes or any other kind of malpractice like exam and bribery and all those sorts. And I believe by that, by being members of this club, you are the needed ambassadors to inculcate the right virtues among your peers.
The event is focused on exploring measures to reduce corruption in institutions of higher learning in Nigeria. It is to showcase the determination and intellect of our nation's future leaders. First of all, I would like to congratulate the participants who participated in this thought-provoking discussion. We commend you for your efforts to tackle corruption in our educational institution. By addressing this topic, you demonstrated a deep understanding of the challenges we face and the critical need for change.
Confidently and gallantly, the lead speakers of the participating schools spoke in favor of the side of the divide they were supporting. The topics that were debated on were sexual harassment on campuses, who should be blamed, the victims or perpetrators. Preventive approach is better than punitive action against corruption. And also, youths in the forefront of the fight against corruption, as well as vote buying. Take a listen.
We recognize that youth are an important vessel in the community. Youth are important in, garnering traction. Youth are very important. They bring energy. They bring enthusiasm. Youth have their voice. But we think that in the fight against corruption, it goes just beyond having a voice. It goes to the point of actually effecting change. And who is in the best position to effect this change that we are looking for? The people in higher position. panel of judges, the #1 commission for fighting corruption and other related offences in Nigeria is the ICPC.
The best way to fight corruption, in a research carried out by the Airtime platform launched in 2015 by a Parliamentary Assembly of European countries, it was concluded that in the 21st century, the best way to fight corruption requires two things. One, a thing. Two, a person. And that thing has to do with education and the person youth.
However, preventive approach cannot offer a permanent and more resolute response in the fight against corruption. And at this point, we must draw a difference between individuals who engage in corruption based on preventive approach systematic breakdown and those who engage in corruption out of premeditated thoughts and greed and selfish interest. No matter how much we campaign, no matter how much we speak out in the school, in the church, there are places in Nigeria who are greedy, who are selfish, and we still engage in corruption.
I would like to ask my opponent, if you say that punitive approach works, why is it that year by year the prisons we have in Nigeria keeps getting fuller? Why is it that people who are relieved from prison end up reoffending, emphasis on reoffending, and coming back to prison if you say that punitive approach works?
She talked about women blaming the victims because they have high hypersexuality. Then you don't really understand what hypersexuality means. Men are the ones that have hypersexuality. A man who is even being satisfied at home, a lecturer who has been satisfied at home by his wife, can still be lured by a student. So you just have to find a way to blame the perpetrator because they are just the predators in this case.
The male sexual nature, knowing that the males are like this and choosing to ignore the preventive measures provided for you to stay safer. My third point was indecent dressing, where this dressing provokes the mental processes and sexual urges of these men that make them to act out of their own will.
At the end of the day, Federal Polytechnic Nasarawa State edged out other competitors to win the cash prize of 200,000 and a HP laptop. University of Abuja came second, while Bayes University clinched the third position. Every student who participated put in their best foot forward, and they are all winners. We say a big congratulations to them all. That's our package on today's edition. Watch Corruption Must Go every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. on NTA Network and International. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms showing on your screen. And call us toll-free on the numbers also showing on your screen. See you again next week for another engaging episode of the program. Bye for now.